This segment of DelmarvaLife is brought to you by For All Seasons Behavioral Health and Rape Crisis Center.
The stress of the holidays can get to anyone. The shopping, the decorating, the travel, and traffic. Well, that doesn't even begin to touch on all the other, like cooking and planning, that kicks into high gear. But don't worry, you aren't the only one with a lot on your minds this time of year. It's everyone. And joining us this afternoon to help put some of this in perspective is Beth Ann Dorman. She is the CEO of For All Seasons Behavioral Health and Rape Crisis Center. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This afternoon. I guess really family traditions and holidays and all of that really can affect your mental health.
Absolutely. And you think about the fact, you just listed off all of those things that keep us super busy. And when we think about what we need as individuals, I may be an extrovert and thrive in the big family gatherings. You may be an introvert. And so those traditions that have become a part of what we've grown up with or what we've been married into may be really hard and challenging. And so we really have to think about the traditions and what we need as individuals. And that requires us to do a little bit of planning, but it also requires that in the moment we sort of check in with ourselves and say, what do I need this holiday season?
Sure. So how can we manage our expectations?
Expectations are really important. We don't always think about, you plan family vacations and you plan meals for Christmas or for Hanukkah, but you might not necessarily plan the day-to-day of what you need in those moments. And so really thinking about if you are someone who knows that your kids don't do well for 8 hours with family members, maybe you limit it and say, we're gonna come from this time to that time. If you're someone who chooses not to be a part of huge family gatherings, but that's what you're going to, it might be able, you might wanna say things like, I'm just gonna come at the beginning, or I'm gonna carve out some time, maybe it's going for a walk. There are many ways that we would be able to put ourselves first in a situation where it might not be the ideal, but we have to really think through. And I always say, reflect on last year. What didn't work well last year for you? What do you know about yourself that you can use as information as you're planning and giving yourself permission to have your best holiday?
All right, I feel like it always happens. So you get to a family gathering, a large one, some crazy uncle or someone has to bring up politics. And that can be a trigger point. How in the world do you keep quiet,
sure,
if you will?
So I think you have a couple of options. I think one option is if you can set the stage that these are the things we're not going to talk about at the holidays. And I know it sounds sort of like, Lisa, I'm going to hand you a contract, sign on the bottom line that we're not going to sign these things. But it really is that proactive approach to say, look, we know that every year this is something that moves us from having a wonderful time to it being really tense. People have different opinions. We're not going to change people, especially after 2 or 3 drinks if there's alcohol involved on a Christmas afternoon. So maybe it is just about determining ahead of time, I'm just not going to say anything, and I'm just going to say, I'm glad to understand where your opinion is, and leave it at that.
Good advice. Sometimes during the holiday season, it's good to integrate, I guess, volunteering, acts of generosity. How can we do that?
Yeah, there is something about giving of ourselves that doesn't involve getting anything, that truly helps to fill the serotonin in our bodies. It puts a great experience for your children. So being able to find ways, maybe it is simply just dropping off cards at the local nursing home. Maybe it is going and doing something as large as helping at the local fire department to be able to help put a meal on people's plates. Maybe it's pulling off one of the angels on one of the trees at the local store. Maybe it is simply just going next door and saying to your neighbor, I'm grateful that we're neighbors. If you have a good relationship with your neighbor, there are ways where we have to think about being able to spread joy that don't require someone to do anything else for us. So sitting down with your family and determining what is best. Maybe, I know for some families, they've decided they're not doing gifts exchanging between the adults. They're going to pool their money together and make a donation. In our family, we let all the kids choose. Everybody gets a certain amount of money, and they all get to choose a charity that means something to them, and then we share through why those charities really mean something to the kids. So it's a way of saying, yes, you're going to get a lot during the holiday season because that's the nature of Christmas and Hanukkah, but what can we give to the community that also is giving back for no reason other than we are living a fortunate life and we want to be able to share.
Sure. All right, so great strategies all around, but I'm sure there are the people who just absolutely are anxiety ridden over the holidays to get together. So, I mean, just the whole lot of it.
Right.
What do you say to them?
You know, it's what we talk about all the time when I'm here. It's about making the practice of taking care of ourselves. And so if you are someone who gets in a place where you're feeling anxiety, you may be feeling more depressed. Number one, I think we as individuals have to be thinking about what we need. So is it, again, going back to those expectations, limiting those things, but also being able to know that I need to go for my run in the morning. So saying to family, I will be there after I get my run taken care of. Having the time, maybe it's a cup of tea at the end of the day that is part of your ritual. Maybe it's attending church. Maybe it's going to the synagogue. Maybe it's sitting and journaling. So really thinking about the things that you need. And also then I think for us who may not be sitting in that place of anxiety and depression, being mindful that not everybody celebrates the holidays the same. And we all bring different things through the door on that Christmas morning, that Hanukkah celebration. We don't have to be able to solve all of the issues that are coming through the door, but maybe someone's lost a loved one, and maybe someone has had a breakup, maybe there's some family things going on. Being mindful that you don't have to be all up in everybody's business. You don't need to know all the details, but simply just saying, I hope we can have a really good day together, and checking in with that individual to say, what else do you need? Or, you know, maybe they'll say nothing. Maybe they'll say just being here is what I need. But we really need to be mindful and be able to know that not everyone experiences the holidays the same, and we all need different things. So as much as we're saying, here's the tips and tools for someone who may be experiencing anxiety or depression, our job as the other side of that human connection is to remember that we all connect differently.
Yeah. So don't put too much pressure on yourself, and don't put pressure on others.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because you know what? We all watch the Hallmark and they all have like these perfect holidays. We all know it doesn't look that way in real life. So also just plain old giving ourselves permission to just experience the holiday for the way that it works for us and not having to hit that Hallmark perfect day.
All right. Beth Van Dorman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And happy holidays.
You too.